Hi, my name is Selena Maison-Pierre, and I'm going to offer 3 yoga poses that are amazing for tight hips. We all get them, so these are 3 poses that you can do really from anywhere that are going to help sort of loosen you up down there. So let's get started. Our first posture we're going to come to is seated, and we'll draw the soles of the feet together, knees open wide, sort of like a butterfly. You want about 12 inches of space in between your heels and your pelvis, and then the hands can come onto the ankles. I love to just kind of butterfly the knees open. If you're really tight in the hips, you might find that you're sort of sinking back here. Really try and bring yourself forward. Another variation, if you have super tight hips, is to take a blanket or a pillow or a towel or something underneath you, just so you can kind of come out of the low back. And here we are. It's called Baddha Konasana. You're just sort of windshield wipering the knees. If you want to add on, you can take it into a fold. All of these poses are just starting points. This is your practice. You listen to your body. So you take my suggestion and then you make it your own. It's like a recipe for cooking. I give you the ingredients and you get to put whatever love you need into it. So that's our first posture. You'll stay for a couple of breaths here, adding on or playing around with how it feels good. Next posture is going to be a little bit more dynamic. So you'll come forward onto your hands and the knees. If you used a blanket, move it off to the side. We'll start in a low lunge. So you can come from hands and knees and just step your right foot forward. And we really want our ankle and knee aligned. This 90-degree angle is very important for protecting the integrity of your knee joint. So you're in a low lunge essentially. Where we're going to add on and make it a little bit more unique is your left hand will come a little farther off the mat. Right hand comes onto this kneecap, and then walk the right foot a little wide. So if you've ever done ballet, it's like a ballet first position with that foot, but it's just wider. Hand on the knee, and then you are going to take some circles and stirs around the hip. If you have a sensitive knee joint on the left knee, you can be up on your toes or place a blanket underneath that knee joint, which I'll just demonstrate so that we've got it. So you can just place a little like cushioning underneath the knees. Right foot is forward, and we're stirring around the hips. If you want to add on even more, maybe you tuck the back left toes and you really sort of stir and circle. It's pretty primal. You're like in there. So do that for a couple of rounds, making sure to go in both directions. And when we're ready to switch, you'll step your right knee back. We'll step the left foot forward. First, setting up for a low lunge, which means that we've got the knee and the ankle aligned, and then heel toeing the left foot a little bit more over to its own side, the left toes a little bit out at a diagonal. Right hand will come off the mat, just as kind of like a little kickstand. Left hand on that knee, and you start to circle through the left hip. My left side's a little tighter than my right. I can feel that right away. So you get to notice what feels different or interesting in your body. If you want to add on even more, you can tuck those back toes, lift the back knee, and then you really take some big circles. I like to bring my fingertips to the ground even. So like I said, this is your practice. I give you some tips and tools, and you get to make it your own. So you're stirring around that left hip, and then when you're done, you'll just step the left knee back. We're back here in what's called Virasana. Third pose, classic pigeon pose. If you've ever seen a yoga class or taken a yoga class, you've probably done a pigeon in class. I'm going to offer 2 variations. The first is, if you know that you've got pretty tight hips and you know that pigeon pose is just not part of your practice today, it is no problem. Where you are going to start is laying on your back in what we call a figure 4 stretch. So I'll demonstrate that now. You'll come to lay down. Start with your knees bent, feet on the floor. Take your right foot up, bend the right knee, and you've got your right ankle on the left knee. So if this is where you're staying, this is so perfect, and you're gonna already start to feel the opening of that outer right hip. Adding on might look like hugging the left leg in. Adding on even more might be wrapping the hands around the front of the left shin. Notice if your neck puffs up, do what you need to do to relax the head down. We want to keep a nice long spine, and you might want to rock a little side to side. So if this is where you're working, you'll switch at some point, taking the other side, and again, noticing different sort of sensations in each of the different sides. If you're taking more of a traditional pigeon pose, you'll come forward, and it's essentially like a figure 4 shape, but just a little bit more intense. I cannot recommend enough using a blanket or towel in your pigeon pose. Even if you are really flexible, even if you think that you don't need it, just try it because it's gonna help with your nervous system, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But so if you're coming with the towel with me, you'll take that rolled up and place it halfway down the mat. In a pigeon pose, we're taking our front shin forwards, front knee is on its own side of the mat, back leg is completely straight back behind you, and if you're working with a blanket or towel, it's right in the middle underneath your groin. Lengthen the back toes, start by looking forward, and you just want to notice if you're wagging really far over to one side, we're trying to bring ourselves as centered as possible. So you'll start in this nice, tall, proud pigeon. I live in New York City, and those pigeons are very proud. So you start here, and then if you feel available, you can lower down onto the forearms. I've got pretty tight hips, so I can't go all the way down, but some of you might be able to go all the way down. Forehead can come down to the mat, but maybe forearms is where you stay, and that's wonderful as well. There's a lot of variations. Wherever you're working, relax the shoulders. Maybe even drop the head. And you want to stay for about 5 to 10 breaths, really observing as that outer right hip opens. I'm going to move us on into the left side, but you stay as long as you need. So you'll come to the knees. The left side will be your left shin forward. Readjust that blanket. Think it's like a princess in the pea situation, and you want it to be perfect on this side, just like it was on the other side. Tent up onto fingertips, look forward, nice tall pigeon, find yourself at center, and lower your way all the way down. Now look, 2 sides of the body might feel dramatically different, and that's okay. So if you need 2 blankets underneath one side, you set yourself up as much as you need. Another New York City reference, sometimes we think of props like blankets or blocks as scaffolding for building support. Go ahead and lower down. Stay about 5 to 10 breaths. And you also just want to notice what's happening in your face, because tight hips is really linked to a tight jaw and vice versa. So in all of these poses, can you just consciously relax the jaw, let it go. When you have reached about 5 to 10 breaths, you'll walk your way back up, coming out of it just as cleanly and with just as much intention as you came into the poses. We exit gracefully. Maybe taking some cat-cows. If you're in a figure 4 shape on your back, you're welcome to come up onto hands and knees and join me here. And then we'll come to sit back on our shins. So nice. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Selena Maisonpierre, and I have hair in my mouth. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.